Welcome everybody again to our evening talk, jobs to be done in the kitchen this time. A very nice topic. This is something which was close to my heart over the last 4 years, working for AMC. You will hear more about this company, a very premium company, very interesting product, and we have Manuel here. Let me set the stage a little bit of how it was when we started working for it. Jan, if you could go on. Let's put Bluetooth in our pans. You have to imagine AMC manufactures and sells pots and pans, very premium pots and pans. So let's put Bluetooth in. This was about the level of discussion we had in 2016, very technology focused. And this is really the topic of today, how to move from tech focus to customer focus and using thereby jobs to be done as a logic, as a perspective to change the mindset. The question, of course, with putting Bluetooth in a pan or connecting a pan with the internet is to achieve what? And that's what we will explore. My name is Bert Walter. I'm partner at Venbridge. Venbridge is specialized in helping companies to grow, to achieve growth through innovation, mainly. One of the two, in our view, growth levers, bringing out new products that build the business. The other one is merger and acquisition, which is not on our topic. We are here from the team. You see Annika. Annika will lead us through the Q&A at the end. You will meet her. And then we have Jan. If you want to say a few words.
Yes, I'll just say I'm a partner as well at Venbridge, and you will hear a little bit more from me, let's say, when it's exactly about explaining the jobs to be done logic or kind of what the concept is. But that's all for now, I think.
What do we do at Venbridge? We do two things, basically. We help companies to solve innovation challenges, and we help companies to build customer-focused skills. On innovation challenges, the companies come with concrete ideas, technologies, and want to find a way to make it customer-focused. As an example, we do a lot of focused innovation roadmap. Companies have many ideas in our experience, too many ideas, and we help to focus the roadmap on the customer needs. The AMC example you hear will include that. Or another topic that we do very often in recent days is customer journey. We make jobs to be done based customer journeys, which is slightly different than conventional job to be done customer journeys. And we always do this based on a solid, validated customer foundation. So that's on the innovation challenge. On the skills, building the skills side, very often teams have some building blocks, some elements missing in how to understand customer insights. There we do injection workshops from small to big. This can be 1-hour injections or can be one-day workshops where we complement and we complement some skill areas that are in the teams. For example, interviewing, how do we do jobs to be done, interviewing, how do we frame a project with jobs to be done, how to do validation, etc. And then a second example from the building the skill side is the project coaching. Some of you might have been in our webinar 2 or 3 weeks ago with Dirk on hearing aids, which was really a project coaching engagement for us, where we helped the team to go through a process to apply jobs to be done. That's all about Venbridge. I would like to introduce now Manuel. Manuel Venzi is Head of Product Management in AMC. Please, Manuel, take over, present yourself, tell us about AMC and about the journey we did over the past 4 years.
Thank you very much, Bert. I'm very happy to be here with you and have the opportunity to share the journey towards customer centricity from AMC. But before, let me start with some words about me. I'm Manuel. I'm working as a product manager now since nearly 10 years. And almost 5 years ago, AMC decided to give me, probably by mistake, the opportunity to join the company as a product manager. Why as a mistake? Because at the time I was a product manager at a software company. So I was managing an online accounting software, so a completely different product. But I suppose they were blinded by the fact I'm in Italian. So they thought that I have to be fluent in cooking. But in any case, it was an incredible move for me. Not just because it's about cooking, and cooking is definitely exciting, at least for me, but because I moved to a really unique company that has also an incredible value proposition. So let me share a bit more about AMC. AMC is unknown to most people. When they ask me where I work and I say AMC, they don't recall who AMC is. But until they look a bit more exactly in their kitchens or in the kitchens of their moms, at least here in Europe, they found out that they probably cooked or have somebody in their family that has cooked their entire life with AMC pots and pans. So it's a company that was founded more than 55 years ago, and AMC is an industry innovator, I would say. So it's a real innovator in the cooking industry. We at AMC are really pushing to provide the best possible cooking systems to every household to make cooking as efficient and as pleasant as possible, and allow people to eat better, let's say. And to allow and to make sure that we can really explain how and in which way our cooking system is different than everything else you find in the markets, we need to have certain time with customers or potential customers or leads, interested people, to show them why AMC is good and different and better than other cooking systems, and even to prove them that it is like this. So that's why since the beginning, AMC is working via a direct sales channel. So with independent sales agents that offer the possibility to experience our products for free at your home, and let you experience how AMC can change your life in your kitchen. But as Beat already said in the beginning, innovation at AMC came mostly from new technologies, historically, I would say. So AMC started with very innovative production innovations and production lines, the way of putting together a pot, creating a pot, how exact they could manufacture these pots was very innovative 55 years ago. Then also the way they at AMC started to study how ingredients needs to be treated. So developing cooking methods, understanding what temperature make a difference actually for which ingredients, and also integrating temperature measurement systems into the pots and pans. It's something that AMC is doing since more than 30 years. And if you have a look a little bit in the internet, you see now in the last few years, a lot of startups popping up also in the Silicon Valley, trying to solve exactly this problem and thinking about that. AMC has done and has started this journey already 30 years ago, shows you and gives you a hint on how serious this company is taking cooking, at least. So, but 5 years ago, when I joined, I got the task to put the customer and its needs in the center of the innovation process. So this was the task we got. And I think I don't need to tell you why this makes totally sense, but I think it's might be interesting to see how we did it. So as already said also by Beat, we started from scratch, let's say. So we were very technology driven. We were searching for new technologies and always trying to adapt them to our world and to our cooking systems and see whether we could find some interesting way to include it in our products, and which also brings interesting solutions, I would say. But we wanted to change that approach and start from the customer and its needs, and we needed to start with gaining a general understanding of what is important and what the pains are while cooking for the people. So we did a first step together with Venbridge in 2016, and we call it the customer, defining the customer foundation, let's say. We liked, at the time, we liked a lot the approach, the CFI approach that Venbridge is following, because it gave us the opportunity not only to have quantitative questionnaires sent out and having a lot of answers by people, but we really started from having interviews, one-to-one interviews, to find out how the reality is for that single household. And I've done that multiple times so that we could really feel what the different realities are. And we did that in our three main markets. So we did that in Germany, Italy, and Spain. It was super interesting to gain that insights and to see also the differences and also the commonalities, let's say, in these markets. And we learned a lot at that time. We learned that cooking pays into the entire Maslow pyramid. So, I mean, we all cook to be fed, of course, but that's not all. We cook also because it's a way we can express ourselves, we can express our creativity. It's a way to share love, it's a way to share stories. And that became very clear in these interviews and in this customer foundation process. We understood that making sure that the cooking result ends exactly like you had it in mind in the beginning is key while cooking, is one of the key pains, say, or and I think if you hear at these findings, it all sounds very clear. It's everything seems, I would say, but it's not always like this. I think that having helped us a lot to set frame for our innovation process, it helped us a lot to have a common understanding of the customers.
Manuel, you're breaking up.
On what better focus on. So it was a fantastic.
Manuel, you're breaking up sometime. Yeah. Can you hear me? Manuel sits in a hotel. For those people who have forgotten what this is a place where you go and sleep, which is not your home. And maybe you have a way to make your internet a bit more stable there.
I try to close everything else down. I don't know.
A little bit. Maybe you turn off the video.
Is it better?
Now it's better, yeah.
Now it's better, yeah. No.
Not really. So maybe try off turning the video and we'll...
Where did you lose me?
Well, it's fine. We could understand you. Just continue.
Okay. So I was just saying that it helped us to set a common understanding of what is important to our customers and what is important to the people in the kitchen. And this set the base to spin over our innovation roadmap. What does it mean? It helped us to reprioritize the whole innovation roadmap we had. It helped us to define what are the key innovation projects we wanted to focus on, and what were the needed actions to have more impact and deliver more value to our customers. And this is not all. We also decided immediately that putting the customer into the center of our innovation process also meant to include customers in the innovation process. So we started to include customer validations, by default on all our innovation process and projects. This means that in every project, we had at least one touch point and one moment where we did validations directly with customers or potential customers to understand whether we were really delivering, or the prototypes and the ideas we were developing were really delivering the wished value to the people, and whether these values were understood. And this also pushed our R&D team, for example, to find new ways to have, for example, prototypes as early as possible available in the process. You can imagine developing pots, pans, and this kind of stainless steel hardware is not like developing software, and it brought different challenges in having as early as possible prototypes, but it is possible, and it helped us a lot in the projects we were
Oh, we're losing you again, Maya. That's. Are you still there or not? Otherwise, we.
Yeah, I'm. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sound is back on. So if you want to go on, then. Okay, good.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is what I wanted to say here.
Okay, all right.
So,
perfect. So.
Yeah.
So now, for those who are new, is you always see those four letters there, JTBD, and I'll just say quick a little bit about what that is and what we mean by jobs to be done for those of you who are new to this. So Beat mentioned it in the beginning, and the whole story of AMC is about this shift away, kind of from the technology or the product view to the customer perspective, really making that switch. And jobs to be done is a logic to do that. So that's how we see it. It's a logic to make that shift from the technology to the customer, and kind of a metaphor to capture what that means, what that shift entails, is captured in this quote by Ted Levitt, where he says, people don't want to drill, they want a hole in the wall. So that's making exactly that shift away from the drill itself as the product, the solution, or the technology, if you so want, to what actually the hole is. The hole in the wall, that's what customers want. And if you want to innovate, focus on that. So try to think about what customers want to achieve, the job they want to get done. They want to drill to do a certain job, which in this metaphor here is the hole in the wall. Now, of course, very quickly the question arises, but yeah, okay, do people really want a hole in the wall? And what does this mean in my industry and here with cooking? And Manuel mentioned this very nicely actually in the beginning, where he said kind of cooking has to do with the whole Maslow. So we have the quote of jobs to be done, the shift away from the drill to the solution, but then very quickly, usually things get complicated, because you can always ask yourself, okay, we have the hole in the wall, but why do they want a hole? They want to put something on the wall. They want to make their apartment beautiful. They want to impress people. And the same thing Manuel mentioned in the beginning, where he said cooking, okay, of course it has to do with feeding my family. So that's kind of the core job in the middle. That's if you want, the basic Maslowian core function that you want out of this, but it has to do with much more, right? So cooking is about much more than just feeding yourself. And so these are what we would call higher level jobs, right? So for example, if you are the one who provides your family with food, or mainly with food, there's also an aspect of where you want to be valued and appreciated. And you can always go higher up. So these are kind of more in the, Jim calls those aspirational jobs, where you go kind of higher and higher in the hierarchy. And the hierarchy is a tool to kind of get a first view of what actually those jobs look like in your area, in your field, in your industry. So higher level jobs are more these aspirational things, have much more to do with appreciation, being valued, and so on. We call those also bigger whys. Now, from feeding your family, you can also go down, right? So that was really getting a grasp of what does the journey, what are actually the steps that people take to achieve the core jobs look like. So how do they do it? Feed my family. How does that happen? So we have on the lower level, these lower how jobs, which are just mapping out the customer journey, if you like, in a solution-free way. to have a focus and really know the steps which we want to look at, which we want to understand in more detail. So that's the hierarchy to kind of apply the logic of jobs to be done in your area, in your field, in your industry, and it helps you to organize what is actually the focus that we want to have in our innovation efforts. So it defines your field, and it's a tool that you can use to exactly do that. Now, on the right-hand side, you will see those 114 job metrics, and I'll quickly say a little bit more about this and what this means, because the hierarchy itself is valuable. So you already have a map, you have an overview of the steps, but you need more than that. You need more than that to actually we believe, to make jobs to be done fly and to really make it useful for innovation. And what we call these things are job metrics, which are basically criteria for each of the steps the customers go through. So in the sub-jobs, to refine my nutrition values, to get ideas and so on, we want to know for each of those steps, what is actually important to those customers? How do they measure if that step goes well or not? And for each of these steps, we have a set of those job metrics, and that's kind of what they look like. So they always have the same structure. So those 114 metrics always look like this. They have an expected result, they have a unit in there, and a context. So you have to imagine a set of 114 of those metrics that really give a full picture of this job to feed my family, which all the efforts that we put in were about. What we really try to achieve with those is concreteness, really making customer needs as concrete as possible. So, because that is actually then the turning point, if you know, let's say of those 114, which of those are actually a pain point, and they're very, very concrete, very, very natural, and they're always solution-free, that's your main lever for innovation. That's where you need to go. And Bert will tell a little bit more about how you move from the set of 114 then to actually knowing where to go in that whole hierarchy.
Yes, thank you, Jan. So Jan was talking about jobs to be done as a perspective or as a logic to change the perspective. And we think this is only one side of jobs to be done. The other side of jobs to be done is a mechanic. It's the way how to apply it, the process how to apply it. And we do this with some market research methodologies. You have to imagine that these 114 metrics come out of in-depth, profound interviews, exploration sessions with real customers. I remember we were talking to a set of probably 20 customers in Italy, 20 in Spain, 20 in Germany. Hour-long exploration sessions to draw these metrics out. Once we have them, and once we have them carefully phrased in the way that Jan explained, we put them into a quantitative validation, which is a survey, a questionnaire, a refined questionnaire, which includes profile questions, which includes some habit questions, behavioral questions, social demographic questions, and it also includes two sets of questions where we ask how important and how satisfied are you with each of these metrics. And then we present this in a map like this, in a graph like this. This shows these 114 metrics all mapped to the lower level jobs, from nutrition values to cleanup. And it basically shows the response patterns of about 600 customers, AMC customers and non-AMC customers. And it basically shows on a scale of 1 to 10 the importance. How important is this metric for you? So if you take this example that we've seen before, that spots in the pan can be removed as quickly as possible when it's burned into the pan, this shows a very high importance of almost 9, which means it's almost the maximum, means almost all of the people found this really, really important. And then you have other metrics which are on the lower level, for example, on 4. So this is the first step. We know now from these 114 metrics which are the most important ones and which are the least important ones. On the next slide, it shows the graph of the fulfillment. So the yellow line is the response that we receive on the question, how fulfilled, how satisfied, how happy are you when it comes to these metrics? And there, of course, you see suddenly a difference. You see a pattern. You see sometimes that the fulfillment is equal to the importance, and sometimes you see that the fulfillment is much lower than the importance. There is a gap. And this gap is for us an indication that it is a pain point. If all the people say a metric is important and none of them say that they are fulfilled, this is a huge pain point. And that's where we focus the innovation on. So if you go on the next slide, you see this presented in a more graphical way. We found here in the case of AMC that there are four pain areas. They are all at the end of the journey. The first one we framed hassle-free cooking. The second one we called supervision. And the third pain area we call dirt and burn spots. And the fourth area is storage. And behind each of these pain areas, there is a set of 3, 4, 5 metrics that came out as a pain. We think this has real navigation power, because if you compare it to other metrics, for example here, get ideas, what should I cook today? What recipe should I cook? Or to prepare, how do I prepare this? This did not show up as a pain point. There is no opportunity here. There is no gap between fulfillment and importance. So therefore, this is not an opportunity here to innovate. And that was the simplified, yes, but that was the going in position for the next step in the process, which we call spinning. And I hand over to Manuel to explain how the spinning worked.
Exactly. Thank you, Beat. This foundation helped a lot in reviewing the ongoing innovation projects and understand what really was paying into these potential areas and which one were not paying into these areas. And as you can see here in the picture, a lot of projects were seemed to us very important and must-have projects. And equally important, all of them. And this exercise and this knowledge helped us in understanding that this was not reality, actually. And while it didn't, some of these projects were stopped, of course, due of this new know-how. But another important thing is that we understood and started to name projects and product projects in different ways. So we started to differentiate, for example, in real innovation projects towards tactical projects. So we had still some new products in our pipeline that had more a tactical purpose, and other innovation projects. But having them named in the right way helped us also to give them the right focus and give them the right resources allocated. And this exercise helped us a lot in defining how many innovation projects and how fast we wanted to be, and how many resources we wanted to invest in innovations projects, in real innovation projects, and what other smaller and tactical projects we also wanted to develop, and where we had to stop them because they were taking too many resources into account. And if you move to the next slide, you will see that we came up with, we first started with some quick win projects that were paying into these pain areas, let's say, and then also started to work on bigger projects. And I think that one point is very interesting. While we were very technology focused in the beginning, this customer foundation process actually underlines that all the pains we addressed with our cooking system were actually the right ones. And we were providing a system and had already developed since 2010 a system that was helping people to have their cooking process better supervised. And you remember, Beat said supervision was very important. We had a cooking system that helped you avoid having burned spots, to have bad cooking results, all areas that were very relevant, but it also highlighted the limits of the current system. So on one hand, we had a very difficult communication style. So we were speaking, for example, about automatic cooking. We were speaking about and offering to the people an automatic cooking system. And we learned during some validation and focus groups very fast that automatic cooking is not interesting to anybody. We said in the beginning, people love to cook and are covering with cooking a lot of important personal values and personal needs. And an automatic cooking system would take the responsibility and the pleasure out of cooking. And considering what actually our system was doing, we understood that actually it wasn't an automated cooking system. It was a system that helped you to have more control over the cooking process. So we started to reframe and rename the entire system from automatic cooking to controlled cooking. And that was a journey we started in 2018. So it was a pure communication exercise that we started in 2018, and but took us some time to involve the entire sales force and rechange all the communication material. But we also, while understanding, going back to the quick wins, while understanding that the supervision was very important, we understood how effective, for example, glass lids are in the cooking process, because believe it or not, glass lids give you all the time the feeling you have everything under control, also with your eyes. And despite the fact that actually with our cooking system, you don't even need to have your everything under control with your eyes, because you have your temperature under control and the system warns you if something goes wrong, still it gives the people the feeling that everything is going on as it should. Or we developed, for example, a removable handle for our pans, for all our pans, that gives you much more freedom in storing and saves space in storing, which was also a very painful area. These were very quick projects we could deliver and had a big impact. And I think the nice story behind these projects is, or the nice side effect besides following this approach, was the fact that the sales force started to have a much bigger I mean, they were starting to understand that every project we were delivering was keeping the customer in consideration and was delivering high value. This means that even when we started to go against some cultural beliefs that the company had over time and over years, we started to be able to do real innovation in the company, because the sales force built up trust towards this process, built up trust towards the brand and the company. And they were trusting us after the second project delivered, that whether they were understanding it immediately or whether they were believing something else upfront, they trusted the process and they trusted the product would deliver the value, real value to customer, and they would feel it by the feedback from the customers. And this was very helpful and speeded up a lot the launch process we used to have in the past at AMC. It also helped, for example, in 2019 to stop projects like a completely new pressure cooker. We started to develop a completely new pressure cooker, And we realized during the validations of this project, we realized that that the value, the added value we had, we were able to add to the new prototypes, to the new products, to the new developed lid, was not as big as expected. So it gave us the possibility, before doing the huge investment needed to build up the entire production line, to stop this project. I think also as important as knowing what to do, also to know what not to do as early as possible. And then let me move to the last and probably most exciting project, which was delivered just in March 2021. So this year, a few months ago, or 1 month ago, a bit more than 1 month ago. And it was the redevelopment of the core of our system. So you see here the new audio term and new visio term, which means probably nothing to you. But this is exactly the temperature measurement system that is included in our pots and pans. So we understood that besides what we changed in 2018, so besides the communication style that needed to be changed and needed to be much clearer towards customers, so that they understood that we were actually offering a product that was solving an important pain. We also understood that the product itself was not intuitive enough. So this, if you go to the next slide, Jan, this motivated us, let's say, to touch the core elements of our systems and redesign them totally. Taking advantage, of course, again, from all technologies available today that are a lot. A lot has changed between 2010 and 2020. And we started to rethink how the temperature measurement system could look like. Especially, we started to rethink how the system could have been more intuitive for the user itself, and how we could leverage on new technologies to make it as simple as possible, and this means as accessible as possible to people. So you can imagine how important, I mean, intuitivity in product management, that's the nicest requirement you can write down in the requirement list as a product manager, and it doesn't mean anything. So even more in this process, these customer validations were central and very important. And Beat will show you how this looked like in this project.
Yes. So you've seen before how the customer insights or the customer pain points fed into the development of this new visio audio term and visio term system, this core of the pods. And then AMC asked us to do prototype testing, which, for the job to be done, experts in the group, is kind of a contradiction, because jobs to be done is really solution free, solution agnostic, while prototype testing is you test the prototype, you test the solution. So this is a contradiction. And the way we design focus groups or exploration sessions is strictly separating the two things. So we always start with a greenfield jobs to be done sequence. If you imagine a focus group like this lasts for 2 hours, and the first part and really a long part, mostly half of it, is simply not showing the prototype, but exploring the job to be done and the metrics that are related to this prototype. So we take the hierarchy, we go one level down in the hierarchy, we focus on, for example, only on control and supervision in this case, and we explore this in depth with the group. And what we see there, if it is a group of 5-6 people, that suddenly these value metrics come up, and there is a common understanding suddenly in the room what the true pain points are when it comes to control cooking and supervising a cooking process. And they tell us some of the value metrics which could potentially be real pain points in this detailed level. And only then we start to show the prototype. Why do we do this? Because we see a big risk that when you show a prototype, that people, consumers, will run away. Because if you look carefully on this on this picture, this prototype was a dummy. And a consumer has to do a conceptual step to understand that this prototype will in the end work and will show him where, for example, in this case, the temperature is. And this level of conceptualization or abstraction is very hard to do for some people. Not for designers, not for engineers, not for us, but for consumers. And they will react negatively because they will say, yeah, but it doesn't look nice. I can't read it. This will not work. So that's why we separate the real prototype testing, the real prototype from the job to be done part. Once we have these value metrics and potential pain points somehow in the room, we show them only visual how the prototype looks, and then we hand it around and do, general comments and how will it work, and we also solicitate improvement ideas, but it's clear that we have this separation. And there we learned a lot. And Manuel and the engineers were in the room or behind the mirror in this case, and they took notes and they improved their requirements and they draw really insights live in real time from the sessions. In total here, this was for the visit term was 4 sessions in Italy and 4 sessions in Germany, if I remember correctly, or even 5. And there was a careful selection of the participants. There was a clear difference between AMC users who know the old system and non-users who have absolutely no idea how to cook with AMC, which was a separate challenge. And there were some other criteria how we recruited and done that. Interestingly, in the last year, we did another project for AMC, which is not here in the slide deck, and we did focus groups remotely, and it worked out very well. And we also did some idea testing, some prototype testing remotely. Of course, they could not touch the solution, but they could react to a visual representation of it. This was early in the process. It was a big decision that AMC had to take. It was millions of investment, I would say, to change this. It was very important to know that it will pay into the insights if it's done well. It will pay into the pain points. It will address them. Gave a lot of security, confidence, comfort that you are on the right track. And then the prototype gave additional insights of how it should be done. Okay. I hand over, Manuel. You give an overview and a closing of what you did.
Exactly. Yeah, we touched already a lot of these projects, and I think it's nice to see that we have a constant stream of innovations. So we were delivering year by year projects with real customer value. And as I said before, I think 2 points really surprised us on the way. The first point is what I said before about the trust that was built up towards this process. That was really fascinating to observe. And I think one of the biggest wins of the company itself, because as I said, this makes this process much smoother. Having an upfront trust, let's say, of what is coming helps a lot make everything that is coming also a winning change. Because it's always coming hand in hand. It's not always only about the solution, but it's also about how much you believe in the solution you are bringing. It helped us a lot to make tough decisions. And the other point I have also seen in the chat, somebody mentioned that, and we also were really surprised when started working together with Venbridge and having these customer sessions. We were surprised how insightful the process was in helping us framing these products and the value we wanted to deliver. So what I want to say is it helped us a lot in communicating and in how to explain the benefits these products we're delivering. It helped us a lot in this process. And that's something that is equally important as the product itself. And there's nothing better than start or use the customer's language upfront when you start delivering and when you launch a product. And especially in a direct sales environment where you have launches in front of thousands of people, and you want to create this excitement in all of them, it makes a big difference whether you speak their language and you are touching the right, you are touching and hitting the sweet spot, let's say. So I would say, going to the next slide, we are very excited to have gone through this journey. As I said, we just launched and introduced a bit more than a month ago this new system, or this upgrade of our system. And as rightfully said also in the chat, yes, we call it now smart cooking. And smart cooking, not only because we use smart technologies now in our system, but also smart because it's an energy saving way of cooking, and it's a nutrient preserving way of cooking. And we at AMC, we believe this is smart.
I have to intervene here, Manuel.
Yeah.
We learned from the automatic cooking exercise that smart cooking is dangerous, because basically you tell the cook, you tell the person who is responsible for cooking and who's proud of cooking, when you provide them a smart cooking system, you tell him or her that he or she is not smart. So you have to be very careful not to, check this if this is really consumer language, because we had some resistance on this, because the immediate reaction was, no, this is, I'm smart, not the system is smart. No?
It's true.
So be careful.
And we are testing it now. So it's this is the internal communication we are testing in the towards the sales force. But that's also the reason why we want to really cover this message, let's say, in saying that smart cooking is not, you are smartly cooking if you cook with AMC, because not only because of the smart technologies, but especially because you're doing it in an environment-friendly way.
I think this slide is animated, Jan. You win some award, whatever this means, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a very nice confirmation on what we did. I don't know if you know the Kitchen Innovation Award. This is an award that is showing to people that don't know the product. It's shown the concept, the product itself, and they ask people whether they think it's delivering a good functionality, a good innovation level, and so on. You see the categories here mentioned. And the nice thing is that not only we got the confirmation that it is perceived, so this added value, this innovation power and so on is perceived, but the golden, so the best of the West, the Golden Kitchen Innovation Award means that we had the best ratings compared to all the other products in the test. And if you go to their website, you see it wasn't just AMC, and there are some renowned brands in the list of products that have been tested. So we're very proud of this best of the best Kitchen Innovation Award.
Manuel,
but as you always say, Beat. Yeah. But as you always say, Beat, I think there's one last task and one last challenge we have to take in front of us, and it's the next slide. So we still have also cooking with, if you cook with AMC, you still have to clean your pots and your pans and everything at the end. So that's probably the next challenge we try to tackle.
Yeah, and the kitchen, the appliance manufacturers have some of it already addressed. I would like to open the question, and I ask a question to you, Manuel. Awards are nice. Can you talk about sales? Because can you talk about growth?
Well, it's quite hard right now because, as I said, it's just. Can you hear me? I think the connection was a bit unstable. So it's hard to say because, as I said, it's just one month in the market. And working in direct sales, the whole pandemic situation is not as simple as it could be for, or it is for other business. But I can say is that we had in the last 5 years an incredible profitability boost and have stabilized revenue. And we are now in 2021 over 2019 performance, which is, considering the environment, definitely a start.
So you in a COVID situation with direct sales force where you do parties at home,
Yes.
you are higher than the 2019 where there was no COVID, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. Annika, do you want to take over the Q&A? We always hope in these sessions to have some good discussions and Q&As.
Yes, so then I take over. We have already some nice inputs in the chat. I'd say we start right in the beginning. There were questions about the jobs to be done prototypes and also a discussion. Ryan or Americo, would you like to add something? I see Manuel already answered some questions. Would you like to open this discussion again for the others?
Hey everyone, Ryan Hatch here. Guys, thanks so much for doing this. This is great. I mean, it's, Manuel, thank you for doing this. There's a lot of stuff in here that I would consider, like with my clients, potentially confidential stuff. So thank you for being willing to share even some of your results and walking through this story. It's awesome. The jobs to be done side being the research, how do we get to the right opportunity, right? How do we understand what the market wants and kind of that direction? But there is this transition into, well, we have to come up with a value prop, right? We have to create something new and see if the market wants that. And I think that it was really exciting to see what you were doing on the prototype testing. And I'm just curious how you felt that went. I could almost, usually in interviews, I'm a one-on-one interview kind of guy, but I could almost see like focus group could actually surface like more discussion in response to some kind of prototype. Can you talk more about that and how you elicited response and maybe what that session looked like? I know you talked about Beat a little bit about like starting with the problem and getting to spark some frustration with their current stuff. And can you just talk about that session?
Mm-hmm.
I think Beat is the right person to answer, because what I can tell you is that I really think that preparing and the setup and the flow for the validation of these prototypes is key for the results. And I think that Beat and the team at Venci is doing a great job there. And it was very. And I would think is that we, as Beat said, we were always participating to the focus. We were behind the screen, and it was very helpful from focus group to customize flow and adapt the flow based on the findings we had set up. You sometimes you trigger some answers that you don't want to hear because they are triggered by flow and not by the pure reaction of people. And the reason why we prefer focus groups is because it's a very similar setup that our sales force is finding. They do cooking shows, they do experience sessions with our products, and they have multiple persons. So they have exactly the same dynamics you have in focus groups that you mentioned. So you start somewhere, you have somebody that is positive, then you have the more negative one, and so on. And knowing in these focus groups whether the dynamic goes in one that is stronger in one direction or in another one is very helpful. Also for this kind of sales trainings, let's say. I don't know if this helps.
Yeah, no, but when I we run the focus groups ourselves, huh? And Manuel mentioned we do a scripting, we do kind of a flow. And the basic concept is at the beginning, it's solution free, it's jobs to be done. That the prototypes are hidden, they are under a sheet. No one even sees the AMC products because they go crazy when they see the products. I mean, especially the AMC consumers, they really love the product. And so we cover it up, and then we go in there, and then it's using the dynamic. The moderator has to be very attentive, and it really has to make sure that all the voices are heard, but then also try to flying helicopter. It's like try to steer it in a direction without really prompting too much. What I would also say what a success factor is that we have these breaks between the focus groups where the client is in and gives guidance. So he tells us what was interesting for him to hear, and then we can try to replicate it in the next group. And for the job to be done part in the focus group is very similar to a one-to-one interview. I mean, we show the job, we explore the jobs, we explore metrics with our questioning techniques. We summarize them in a very clear way. We try to prioritize. So if you have 2-3 interesting metrics, we note them on a flip chart and we say which one is more important. Of course, it's not quantitative, but it gives a feel. So that's the.
If I might add here, I think another reason why we often don't go for these one-to-one interviews is because we used to have these one-to-one interviews more, for example, in software. So you have seen we just developed an app, and there, when you do user experience design, there one-to-ones are very helpful because you go to the interviewer with a very similar product to the end product. So the prototype already behaves like the product, and you can really see how the people interact with it. But very often we work we've tried 3D prototypes, and just as Beat said also during the presentation, just want people to imagine how it could work and tell us how they imagine it. For example, that's a bit the challenge we have not being in software development, let's say. Yeah? But I think that the good message here, it's possible to be done also not in software development, and it's very helpful.
Okay.
Perfect. So then I would say in regard of the time, we would move on to the question from Ivan. It was already stated that it's an important question. Ivan, would you like to ask it yourself, or shall I read it?
You can read it. I have baby in hand, so.
Okay, cool. So even ask, is there no opportunity in get ideas across the board, or are the big pockets of opportunity that would be missed because the analysis shows important satisfaction based on averages? For example, people who are diagnosed with diabetes might want ideas for what to eat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, concretely get ideas in general over all the 600 people was really not showing as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. But of course, we can cut the data also based on subgroups. So in the 600, you have the average of the 600. But then if you go into specific groups, you might see a totally different picture. I mean, these curves that we showed, they can be created for subgroups or for overall. And that's what we do in our analytics, that we really look at differences by profile. You mentioned an example, diabetes. Yeah, a diabetes person has totally different needs than another person. And if we had a subgroup diabetes, I'm sure we would have different, we would have opportunities in the get ideas. But in general, we were also surprised because there were also projects on the roadmap about recipe services, about online recipe services. There was an idea really to make an AMC recipe service on the app, and basically we saw that this was not a need. This is not an opportunity. So does that answer the question? Maybe a third point. I mean, it is, we show here in that one-stop job step where maybe there are 5 or 7 metrics behind it have a big gap. That's unusual, huh? Very often you have only 3 or 4 metrics that have a gap in one job step, and the others are satisfied. But that's exactly the power of this job metric system, is that you can look very, very granular. You can look very concretely, and you can say, in this job step, there we have a burning issue for the customer, huh? But in fact, it's only 3 specific metrics that are the burning issues, and the other ones are fine, which gives clear direction for the developers to focus on these 3 metrics. Does that answer the question, even?
Yeah, I think so. It just begs the question why, like, you know, health insurance companies are like, people don't have access to food when they have a, you know, and it hurts their, if they're not eating right, it hurts their health outcome. Like, nutrition is a huge need, and deciding what to eat is like a huge societal problem. But you're saying that like nobody has that issue as a consumer, according to the research.
In Spain and in Italy, they don't have this problem. Spain and Italy has fantastic recipes. They are very proud of eating, very proud of healthy eating, even if it violates all the nutrition principles of the world with the olive oil and all this. But the Italians don't seem to have this problem. I mean, at least what we found here. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add this. I mean, I would love to do this study in other countries and maybe the US and see how that happens. But up to now, I mean, in other studies as well that we've done in the cooking area and everything that has to do with nutrition, recipes and that part very often is not the key issue compared with the other things like burning pots and so on.
Yeah.
Sorry, just yeah.
We've done a big study for ready-made food. Community food, ready-made food for a big food manufacturer, and again, it was not same.
So then we had many more additional comments and ideas. What was mentioned a few times was that new products or new features might add new pain points. Maybe something about that, or would someone like to ask another question that was not discussed yet?
Which question are you referring to, Annika?
It was the last one from Jonathan. And it was already mentioned, I guess, from Ryan. The new products create new value metrics was his statement.
Yeah, that's an interesting question from Jonathan. Adding new features.
It's true.
Yeah, Jonathan, you want to say something?
I think it's true. I think it's true, and I think that not only new features. I mean, also time changes the needs sometimes, and I think that's something that you need to revalidate. I think there's no.
I think in our
But I completely agree.
In our frame, the way we think is there are metrics and jobs that are truly human. They are really universal and not linked to technology. But of course, if there is a new technology coming, like take the iPhone, the smartphone was really reducing battery life from 1 week. I mean, the old Nokia phones before the smartphone, that lasted for 1 week, and then suddenly it was only 1 day or hardly 1 day. So that created a new pain point. Now you can look at this from a solution point of view and say the battery doesn't last, which is a solution, and probably it's not very insightful to find this out. But in jobs to be done terms, you would phrase it differently. So it would say that you don't are prevented to do any calls when it's 7 o'clock in the evening or something. That would be not in a solution-free way. But I think really you add new pain points by adding new technology, and that will evolve over time. And that's why I think it makes sense to also repeat some of these job to be done studies at a later stage, especially if competition has come out with new features or new solutions that can change the picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I asked the question is because it kind of highlights, I think, something that many newcomers to jobs to be done have issues with, and to be quite honest, I still puzzle with, is the distinction between the solution agnostic or solution and problem. And I think if you spend enough time thinking about this, you see that it's not always so easy to separate the two. And I think this maybe illustrates a bit that issue just in this particular example. So that's why I asked the question.
Jan, you want to add on this?
Yeah, I completely agree. But so just maybe a kind of, okay, looking at the time, I think it's a very interesting question. I will go into it. For those of you who joined us, it's now 10:07. So thank you very much. I think we'll kind of officially do an end, but please, if you want to stay and keep on discussing, because now we're getting really into deep discussions, which are nice, but don't feel obliged. Thank you very much for joining. Now, Jonathan, I think the question is extremely interesting because, I mean, as with so many things, the moment you start really trying to think about it in detail, things get trickier and trickier. And that's, so this basic distinction between solution and job, that is at a certain level, it becomes really, really difficult. It depends, I think, on what kind of level you are. But I mean, let's say it depends also on what the purpose is you're trying to achieve, right? So sometimes we also say it's okay to include a little bit of a solution into the process if you know what you're doing. So sometimes you don't have to be dogmatic on never mention any solution in any kind of way, because that very often isn't helpful as well. So yes, you're right. I think it's a question of degrees very often. I don't know if that helps. So.
No, I think that's exactly great. Thank you.
If you have this hierarchy, the hierarchy gives a level, on which level are you flying? And on this level, it should be solution free. If you go one level down, it can include a solution. But then if you look at the one level down, again, it has to be solution free. This is when we develop these metrics, this is the discussion, the most frequent discussion we have amongst us. We phrase a statement, another one says, of the team says, no, but this is a solution, and then we debate it. And then we try to be non-dogmatic with that, Anything else?
Okay, I think so. If somebody feels that the question was overlooked, then please say so now. Otherwise, I think we've answered or at least touched upon any question. Thank you, Stephanie. So Stephanie says it was super interesting. Thank you very much. So I think, a lot of thanks also to you, Manuel. Really, really great for taking the time and showing really, as Ryan has said, it's not that often the case that clients are so willing to share and talk about their stuff. So thank you very much for taking the time and showing us through the process. It's just awesome. Thank you.
As usual, we get...
Thank you all, and sorry for the bad connection.
We will share the slides. We will share the video on our YouTube channel. Feel free to contact us if you wish, and we're always open to discuss. to discuss difficult questions, because that brings us forward, that moves us to discuss project opportunities. We're always happy to do projects, of course, and also join us in our next event. There is a great event coming up in a month, which you don't want to talk about it yet, Jan, right?
It's on the website, so we can. But Jim has left, so it was with Jim. He's already left, but and so mark the 11th of May in your calendars. So let's just say that.
This will go out in the next few days, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for joining.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Manuel,
Bye, thanks.
later, huh?
Okay. So let me just.
Natascha ist noch da, sie können noch bleiben. Hey,
So.
fantastisch. Manuel.
Sorry für.
Nein.
Ja, das.
Hey, fantastisch. Wow, so konkret, oder? Du hast gesehen, Dummies, die drin sind. Wir kennen die zum Teil, oder? Hey, ich meine, das ist so super gewesen. Das ist einfach ein super Thema, weil jeder kennt das.
Genau.
Oder?
Ja, also ich meine, am Anfang ist es so schön gewesen, dass er aufgenommen ist mit, hey, Kochen hat irgendwie mit allem zu tun, oder? Und nachher wird, also das wirklich auch die Überführung ist irgendwie, das habe ich sehr schön gefunden. Und ich meine, es ist so selten, dass man genau so Case Studies zeigen kann. Das ist ja das, was dann interessiert. Jetzt kann man irgendwie 100-mal über Jobs wieder an und irgendwie Theorie und okay. Nein, oder? Aber das Coole ist ja, das sind die 4 Produkte, boom, boom, boom. So, und das ist ja, also ich meine, urcool. Das ist wirklich cool, dass das, ja, gezeigt hast.
Annika, du hast super Fragen.